forward. Okay.
Okay.
This is your first multi-voice time writing at 140 words per minute. Your proper names are Dr. Combs and Presbyterian Hospital. I am Ms. Nash.
The witness?
Mr. Switzer. Ms. Nash.
The witness?
Mr. Switzer. It is going to begin with a question by me, Ms. Nash. Ready? Do we have two or no? I almost brought the other one, but I didn't. Okay, ready? Did Mr. Combs ask you if you had a history of sexual abuse?
I don't remember if Dr. Combs asked me. Well, yeah, probably it was. Dr. Combs had asked me that.
And do you know what precipitated him asking you that?
I think he was trying to get a past history, assuming that...
Well, don't make any assumptions. Don't speculate.
Did you go into detail at all about the sexual abuse that you had experienced?
No, I did not go into detail.
Did you just give him a summary of what had happened?
I didn't even give him a summary. I just told him that that was the fact that I had been sexually abused at one time.
Were you separated from your husband at that time?
Yes, I believe we were separated.
Did you mention that to Dr. Combs?
Yes.
Did Dr. Combs recommend any tests for you?
Other than,
while you're in the emergency room and he's asking you the questions about your background and so forth, did he recommend any tests?
I believe he ran some blood tests. Other than that, I don't know of any other tests.
Now, during this time, was it just yourself and Dr. Combs and the nurse in the room?
By that time, my mom had showed up and also my husband.
And were they in the same room as you with Dr. Combs and the nurse?
No. I don't believe that my mom had the opportunity or my husband had the opportunity to be there when Dr. Combs was examining me.
After he examined you, did they enter the room?
Yes. There was a period of time where I was alone and they came in.
Did the nurse also perform a history and physical or ask you certain questions about your history at some point?
are you talking about a single nurse?
Yes.
I think that the nurse was there when Dr. Combs was asking the questions. Yes, that was the case. She and Dr. Combs were both at the foot of the bed. And in fact, yeah, I don't think that she asked me any specific questions. I think she was more listening to what Dr. Combs had to say and the answers that I was giving.
Was she present during the whole time Dr. Combs was doing the history and physical?
As much as I can recollect, yes.
Did you tell her that you weigh yourself 4 to 5 times a day?
I don't believe I told that to the nurse or doctor.
Can we take a brief break?
Yes.
Thank you.
Do you recall the name of the nurse that was present when Dr. Combs was performing a history and physical?
No, I don't recall her name.
Do you recall what she looks like?
I think she was a young brunette. But other than that, I couldn't give any.
Do you recall treating with more than one nurse at Presbyterian Hospital?
Yes.
Okay. Do you recall the name of the other nurse?
No.
Do you know why you were treated by 2 different nurses?
Dr. Combs had called another nurse for evaluation purposes.
Do you know if she was a mental health nurse?
Yes.
You don't recall her name, correct?
No.
Did she ask you a certain number of questions?
Yes, she did.
Did she perform any tests?
No.
What did she ask you?
She was asking me about my stress. And I repeatedly told her that I felt like, although I was under stress, that wasn't the issue, that it was my blood sugar. And I told her that I was upset that they seemed to be overlooking that.
You told her that?
Uh-huh.
Is that a yes?
Yes.
Was anyone present when you had this discussion with her?
I believe she asked for privacy. I don't believe anybody else was there.
Did you discuss your recent weight loss with her?
Let me again object to the use of the word recent as vague and ambiguous.
I'm sorry. Your 40-pound weight loss?
We had discussed weight loss, but I don't know if I gave her a specific number.
Did you? Okay, this is your second multi-voice time writing at 140 words per minute. Your proper names are Amphetamines, Dexatrim, Presbyterian Intercommunity Hospital, and Dr. Combs. Ready? Did you tell her that you take laxatives and amphetamines to lose weight?
I told her that I had used Dexatrim.
Have you ever taken any amphetamines to lose weight?
No.
Did you tell her that you still needed to lose 10 pounds?
I don't recall telling her that.
Were you and your husband living together at this time?
No. I believe we were separated.
I can never keep these dates straight in my head. Okay, you got married in April 1993, was that correct?
That's correct.
And then you were divorced in August 94.
That's correct.
So you were separated in July 1993, correct?
Correct.
When did you separate?
I believe we had only been separated for a matter of weeks.
So you said that you were trying to lose weight to prepare for the wedding. Is that correct?
Here today or to someone else?
Today.
Okay. Has that been your testimony as you recall it?
I don't understand that.
Did you say that you were trying to lose weight for the wedding?
They had asked me why I had initially decided to start losing weight. And yes, that was what I had said, was that I was tried to start losing weight for my wedding.
And did you continue to try to lose weight after the wedding in April 1993?
Yes.
Did you take the Dexatrim after you were married?
I think that the question has been answered, but she can answer it one more time.
Yes, I believe I did take it. I'm not sure for how long. It was less than 3 months that I had been taking it.
Did you take the laxatives while you were married?
While I was married, I might have had an occasion to take a laxative, but not for the purpose of weight loss.
So even after you were married, you were still interested in losing weight. Is that correct?
After,
You know, that follows the previous question and assumes facts not in evidence. The question by itself is not improper.
You can answer the question.
after I was married, there was a time period where it was an interest of mine.
Right after you were married, it was an interest?
Right after, meaning the next day?
Well, I don't know. You said it. I'm trying to get some kind of clarification.
Yeah, there was another occasion, another period of time after I was married that I felt like I'd wanted to lose a little bit more.
How much more?
I didn't have a specific number until I felt that I was at a normal weight.
But when you were in the Presbyterian Intercommunity Hospital emergency room 3 months after you were married, you were still weighing yourself 4 to 5 times a day. Is that correct?
That's not what this witness said. Is that what you were doing?
What I said was, she said, what was the most that you've ever weighed yourself during this time period that I've been trying to lose weight? And I told her that there was occasion where I had weighed myself up to 4 to 5 times a day.
And then did you also tell her that you needed to lose 10 more pounds?
You're talking about the mental health nurse?
Yes.
I remember telling that to Dr. Combs. I don't remember if I told that to her.
Do you know why Dr. Combs wanted you to see a mental health nurse?
May call for speculation, if you know.
No.
You didn't believe that was the problem?
My mental,
Unless you had a conversation with Dr. Combs about why he was consulting the mental health care nurse, don't reach into speculation to answer the question. If you know, then answer it.
Did Dr. Combs tell you, I think that you should see a mental health nurse? Do you recall having that conversation with him?
no. He called her and I was informed that he had called her.
Who informed you of that?
I believe Dr. Combs is the one that came to me and said, I'm referring you to this person.
I don't stop recording. Monitores. Monitores. This is your first multi-voice time writing at 120 words per minute. Your proper names are Peoples 3, Detective LaPlante, Peoples 5, Women in Blue, Bate, Honda, Tommy Jimenez, and Officer Garcia. I am Ms. Torres.
The witness.
The court.
Ms. Torres.
The witness.
The court.
It is going to begin with colloquy by the court. Ready?
Any redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. When you were at the location indicated by the blue dot on Peoples 3 for identification, you were parked there prior to Detective LaPlante bringing her car into the alley. Is that correct?
Yes, I was.
So you were there for some time before she actually moved into the alley. Is that correct?
Yes.
Now, from your location in the alley to the location where Detective LaPlante indicated she parked the vehicle, approximately how far away is that?
It's approximately 150 feet. It could be a little further.
So your vantage point was from, you were looking from behind and you were looking down this long alley to determine where she had parked the vehicle. Is that correct?
Correct.
And prior to preparing for trial today, you guys didn't sit down and talk about where she specifically parked the car. Is that correct?
Correct.
And isn't it true that you actually had the most detailed conversation regarding this location of this car back on Friday of this last week? Is that correct?
Correct.
And actually at that time, did you and Detective LaPlante look at the videotape that's been marked as Peoples 5 for identification regarding, it's entitled Women in Blue, correct?
Yes.
And at that time, you had an in-depth, detailed conversation regarding the alley and what was parked there and where Detective LaPlante parked the vehicle, correct?
Yes.
So the video accurately depicts how the alley looked that day, correct?
Correct.
And there was, in fact, a blue truck parked there as Detective LaPlante indicated, correct?
Correct.
So from your vantage point, the way you were looking down long and far and away and couldn't tell exactly where Detective LaPlante had parked the vehicle. Is that true?
True.
So when you drew this diagram at my request a few months ago, this is based on your perceptions of what you saw. Is that correct?
Correct.
Who built the bait car?
The bait car was,
Counsel, I think that calls for a conclusion.
Based on his training and experience, he works with the car on a daily basis.
When you say built, you mean like Honda?
No.
Or are you talking about,
Who created the bait car?
do you know who created it without hearsay?
yes, I do.
Go ahead.
A detective by the name of Tommy Jimenez,
And that was created for what purpose?
for the purpose of fighting auto theft,
And for whose use to drive or occupy the vehicle?
for our team's use to drive the vehicle.
And your team is?
Task Force for Regional Auto Theft Prevention.
Now, is it safe to say that from the time that Detective LaPlante parked her vehicle to the time that you saw the defendant come out into the alleyway, that was a short period of time?
Yes,
Can you give an estimation of how quickly after the vehicle was parked to the time that the defendant first appeared in the alley?
it's approximately 4 minutes.
Is that when he first appeared in the alley?
Oh, I'm sorry. Approximately, I'd say a minute. Probably about a minute.
So relatively quickly after the vehicle was left, is that correct?
Yes,
And in viewing the videotape, did you have an opportunity to time from the time that Detective LaPlante drops the vehicle, has her conversation with Officer Garcia, to the point where the defendant gets into the vehicle? Did you actually time that?
yes,
And what is that time frame?
approximately 4 minutes.
Okay, this is your. Oh, I need to pause it. Forgot we need to switch them out, right? Yeah, because it's Hosford. We need to switch this up. So I paused it. I did it again where I was reading
Oh, I
the
know,
paper.
I almost started.
I know, and then I was gonna get. I looked up. I shouldn't have looked up because if she was laughing, I was gonna lose it. So, Veronica, you're Miss Longoria, and I am Hosford. Yeah. And then you forgot to start it, didn't you? The timer,
I know.
because you're too busy laughing at me. Okay, this is your second multi-voice. I'm writing at 120 words per minute. Your proper names are Border Steel, Chevron Refinery, Sunland, Sunland Services, Walmart, Dyer Street, CISD, W2s, Canutillo, Auto Parts Unlimited, and Mr. Souls or Cells? Souls. And I am Mr. Hosford.
The witness?
Miss Longoria.
Mr. Hosford.
The witness?
Miss Longoria.
It is going to begin with a question by me, Mr. Hosford. Ready? After Border Steel, where did you work?
I worked at Chevron Refinery, but for an outside contractor.
Do you know the name of your employer, the outside contractor?
The first name I remember was Sunland Services. I believe that was the name of it.
And what were your duties and responsibilities?
General laborer.
And what type of general labor were you doing?
We would be either cleaning out the tanks, the oil tanks. You know, you have to go inside and clean them out, or sandblasting, things of that nature that dealt with the refinery. There would be a spill, we would have to clean it up. Things of that.
How long did you work for them?
1 year.
And why did you leave? Or why were you terminated?
The job had ended.
And after that, who did you work for?
After that, I believe I worked for Walmart on Dyer Street.
And what were you doing for them?
General cleanup. At night, when the store was closed, we would clean up the store.
And again, were you working directly for Walmart or were you working for a custodial service?
No. At that time, I was working for Walmart.
And when you say general cleanup, what types of things would you do in the evenings?
Sweeping, mopping, waxing, things of that nature.
And how long did you work for them?
3 months.
Why did you leave or why were you terminated?
I left because that's when I got a job with the CISD.
You indicated previously that you had W-2s or some records that might show the various time periods that you worked.
Yes, sir. I believe I do still have them because they say that by law you have to keep them for 10 years.
I'm going to amend my request, counsel, if I may.
What else do you want?
Well, I had asked, I think, specifically for the 1976.
On or about 76, employer at or about the time of the explosion.
And if I could have the W-2s or other information that would show employers from about that time period up until employment by Canudillo.
So you want the W-2s showing the employers at or about the time of the employment with Canudillo?
From approximately 1976, the time period of the house explosion, up to his employment with Canudillo, which begins in 1988, I believe.
We will look for that. It may be a fairly lengthy, overburdensome request, but we will look through it, at least in an attempt to find out who the employers were.
All right, and time periods of employment.
Again, just for the purposes of the record, the request is rather broad, but to the extent that we can find it, we will at least look into who the various employers were and the time periods. But I cannot guarantee you or agree that we will actually get the W-2 forms for that long time period, but we will look.
If the W-2s are not available, but you are able to determine employers and time periods, could I at least get that information?
Right. I don't have a problem with making a good faith attempt to ascertain the employers and time periods.
Sir, do you recall working for a company called Auto Parts Unlimited, Mr. Souls?
Yes.
And again, this is not a mystery. I'm holding a document which reflects your application for employment and the information on it. And I'm stop this, yes?
Mhm.